Hello, welcome to Reversal of the Muse. My name is Laura Marling. Today we have the big one. Today I'm speaking to Dolly Parton Emmylou Harris, which was quite an experience, as you can imagine. Actually, the anticipation of it was more daunting than the reality of it. I was obviously very excited and honoured to get some time with these incredible women whose music I was brought up on and have grown to appreciate more and more as I get older. So you'll be able to hear, I'm sure if you've been listening to the podcast already, I had a small mental malfunction which persisted for the entirety of the 20 minutes that I was allotted to speak to them both. So I apologise for that. I'm sure there was a million more interesting things I could have said. But also, I'm not a professional journalist, and I believe that they thought that I was. So they weren't quite prepared for my level of unprofessionalness, and they weren't prepped like the other people that I've spoken to about what the purpose of this conversation was supposed to be. So they weren't overly keen on talking about female creativity. I got the sense, maybe, when you've been doing it that long and you are this sort of female figurehead, pioneer of the genres that they occupy, maybe you're a bit over talking about this stuff now, which I can totally understand. And it was just very exciting to be in the same room as them. And it was at the time that I went to interview them a couple of months ago now, they were promoting the re-release of the Trio records, which they did with Linda Ronstadt. Unfortunately, Linda was unwell and couldn't join us that day. But here you go, this is a conversation in which I sound like a quivering wreck with two extraordinary women who I may never meet again, and be able to let them know that I'm not a complete brainless Wally. So please enjoy and come and see us again at Reversal of the Muse. My name's Laura.
Hello.
And it's very nice to meet you both, Emmylou Harris and Dolly Parton.
Well, nice meeting you. A fellow musician, singer.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And I was saying to Dolly that I learnt fingerpicking through listening to Dolly, and I learnt backing vocals through listening to you.
Oh, right.
And
so she should be pretty good, shouldn't she?
That's right. Well, you should be pretty good.
You don't know yet, so yeah, I'm going to say I'm really good.
Oh, good. I bet you are. You're a pretty big star there, so we'll have to get some of your records, and then we can interview you later.
That would be
How's
lovely.
that sound?
Yeah, that sounds
okay.
just
it's a
right.
deal.
Yeah, it's nice. I think it's great when other artists interview artists. I think you can probably have a lot of curious things
Different
in
questions.
your mind. Yeah.
Different questions, too.
Yeah, hopefully. So I'm talking to lots of people at the moment about what it's been like for women to work in studios, recording studios, because in my experience I've never walked into a studio and had another woman or more than one woman be in that studio. And obviously recording these records, I assume were in the majority in most of the rooms that you were in.
Are you talking about
In the
just the
studio,
trio
about
or
the
just
trio?
women in the studio in general?
Women in studios in general, but in making this record, the three of
Right.
you had
But
each
we
other.
were pretty outnumbered with the band, and the producer was a man and all the musicians. Except we did have Alison Krauss on some
Oh,
of
she
those
did
sessions.
come sing. She
She
played
did.
on
She
some of the
played,
sessions.
and
Played fiddle. And
she did some vocals for us when Dolly couldn't be there on one song until Dolly could put her vocal on. So she was involved, but it is pretty much a male-dominated field. I don't know. It's never bothered me. I never thought that, this is not right. We have to get some, like the Congress.
Yes.
Where we should have more women. I just figure whoever's doing the job, and maybe I don't think I've ever turned anyone down and said, well, you're not experienced enough because you're a woman or anything like that.
Yeah.
In fact, it's not up to me who shows up. I just show up to sing.
Yeah, well, it's the same as when you're working on any project. You don't think about it like that. I always think of Amy and I especially. We just feel like one of the boys. We've been around all these
Well, that's
musicians and all these, you know,
Yeah.
I don't even think about it in terms of male, female when we're in there, doing our jobs because they respect
you're
us.
You're a musician.
You're a musician.
And
Yeah,
you have a
Amy and I-
job to do. Your voice is your instrument. And you're all there to do the same thing, to serve the song, to get the best possible performance of the song at that particular moment. So I don't know if I've ever really thought about it. I mean, I have worked with some wonderful women engineers on Wrecking Ball. Trina was very, very involved in the recording of that.
Trina Shoemaker.
Yeah, Trina Shoemaker. But for the most part, I suppose, do you think there's something going on that keeps women out of the studio?
Well, similarly, I don't feel like women aren't allowed into studios. I'm interested in whether there's a difference in feminine creativity that isn't given easy access in those environments. I was saying to Dolly, I really admire how she's maintained a really strong femininity whilst being an extraordinary guitar player and an unbelievable songwriter. And that's never been compromised. And I wonder whether we're living in an age where women are masculising their creative output to keep up with men in sort of our masculine society.
Maybe. I think it's more the individual. I think it depends. I think if a strong woman that writes good songs, plays good, wants to perform, I think they're admired and respected by other musicians. I know I've never had too many problems with that because I just go in with a good attitude. I know some people do suffer more than others, but I think I think it's just they're not familiar. Women have not really studied that a lot. So I know that we do have, a lot of times in the recording studio, we have assistants that are female that are just learning. So a lot of it is just male-dominated, mostly because it seems like men mostly are interested. But I'm hoping this day and time, hopefully, we've moved a little forward with that. Right. I think everybody, especially musicians and producers, creative people, are more sensitive, I think, to those things than a lot of other types of music. I think we're all open to just appreciating and respecting, the creativity.
Yes, yeah, and that is being reflected. There's more women joining the Berklee School of Music Engineering program.
Oh, really? Well, that's
year.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good to know. We'll be long gone, Dolly.
Speak for yourself. I plan to stay around and see all this.
I'm going to stick around a while. That's as long as I can.
I've read a lot about these records, and I've obviously listened to these records, and I'm huge fans of you both individually and Linda. And I was wondering what brought you together to make these records, and what was it about a trio, or particularly the three of you? Because you hold quite individual identities within your separate musical groups.
Our talent brought us together, but Emmy has the
it just started with very organically when I first met Linda Ronstadt, and being two female singers, you're interested to know who influences you, who's your favorite, and turned out Linda and I revealed to each other that Dolly was our favorite. She was our icon. She was
I
the
was
one.
so shocked to hear it.
So, but neither of us had at that point. Neither of us had met Dolly, and so Linda and I became pretty close friends. Shortly after I met her, the fellow I was singing with, Graham Parsons, died, and I was kind of left hanging in so many ways. And Linda was a great friend, and brought me out to sing with her, had me sing on her records, and generally just talked me up to the community, to the music community. And I ended up getting a record contract and recording one of my favorite Dolly Parton songs, Coat of Many Colors, which led me to, when I first came to Nashville with this new record release that there was a bit of a buzz about. Someone, smart person, it's probably Mary Martin or someone, anyway, set up a meeting for me to meet Dolly, and I went to the studio where she was working, and so we met, and it kind of got to be friends with my producer and people that work for him. And Dolly was, I think at that point we were kind of getting ready to make a move away from Porter. I'm not sure the timing exactly. It would have been 1975. And
yes, I had just left,
right.
Or was just
so
leaving.
We had said we're living in L.A. We have a studio. We're living here. Let's get together, as people say. But we actually did. Dolly called and we said, come on over to the house. So the first thing I did was call Linda and said, Dolly is coming over to the house. And of course, Linda and I had been spending a lot of time together because I'd recently moved to L.A. And the three of us found ourselves in this crazy house off of Coldwater Canyon that was full of all kinds of kitsched 50s white pianos with gold peacocks and Parisian street scenes with rhinestones on the sliding closet doors. Well, we were the hippies, but it was a completely different...
it was. The big pool.
It was a
pool,
stranger,
too,
big pool with swans spouting water and stuff. It was a rental.
Would you say an Esther Williams house?
I called it sort of a scene in an Esther Williams movie, but Brian my producer had a mobile recording truck, and so we were renting this house to make the records there, but we were all living there. So Linda came over and Dolly arrived, and it was obvious after we generally did our girly thing of getting to know one another, we obviously said, well, let's sing something. We're singers, and we sang Bury Me Beneath the Willow and When I Stopped Dreaming, which is a Living Brothers song. And the sound, I think, it astonished us.
It was. It was just amazing. We knew
it was just...
It was a sound.
Just purely beautiful. It was purely beautiful.
Like three sisters, like sitting on clouds singing. It's like, wow, this is a sound. We need to do something with that.
I think the thought was that, well, at some point, we should actually record this, make a record of it. So it moved on from there with different various incarnations.
And 30 years later,
here we are.
So here we are.
Yes.
But we have everything in this collection, the trio collection, I think they're calling it.
Yeah.
And it's everything that we've done all through the years, ever since we met. Started recording bits and pieces here and there, down through the years, different versions of what was going to be our trio album till we finally got it out. But now there were lots of things left in the can, and things that I think the fans will be really happy to hear.
Yes.
Some of them just different arrangements and different productions of the same songs. I think they'll like that too. And so I think it's an interesting. It shows our journey as as singers individually, and certainly as trio.
Yes. I took a peek at the list. It was very exciting. And I think trio, in all of it, is a really good example of the uniqueness of feminine creativity, because the combination of your three voices, the resonance of
feminine.
Those, is deeply feminine, and those female voices resonate somewhere in the chest. I think it's unique to, it's close to the cello or something, and it's angelic. That's what we associate with, kind of an angelic sound.
We thought that sound that we had as trio, it's almost like an instrument. That sound. Sometimes when our harmonies really buzz, it's almost like a different kind of an instrument, rather, like you say, rather than just
there's
voices.
Nothing like the joy of singing with someone.
It is.
It really is, and to have the three of us, and the blend is beautiful, but our voices are very different individually, But someone did ask us, I thought it was an interesting question, when did you have to alter your voice in order to make the blend? And I said, I don't think Dolly and I would know how.
To alter
we got our voices, and if anybody even says to me, can you slow down that vibrato, or can you stop that vibrato? I said, you got the wrong singer. You get somebody else in here, because it controls me. I do not control it. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. I can believe it.
But I love the sound of female voices anyway. I grew up singing with my family. I had two other sisters that we used to sing a lot at weddings and funerals and around at different things. My sister Stella and my sister Cassie. We had a really great sound. So and there's nothing like that family harmony. And I never thought I'd find that again until I found the two of them, and then we just took it to a whole
were waiting in the wings, Dolly.
Different level. Yeah, it was great, because I brought that old mountain sound, and then they had that other stuff that, Emmy's folk voice and Linda's rock world, but we all could sing other things.
Yeah.
But there's just something about the way all of those textures and all those voices fit together that just created this little sound we call trio, and it's something I personally, and I think Linda and Emmy feel exactly the same. It's like in your life you hope to do great things that'll be remembered, things that you're part of, that you could be proud of, or your family could be proud of. And I have never had anything that I'm prouder of than this trio project.
Wow. Fantastic. I would be deeply proud of it if I'd have been part of it. I'm interested to know what your experience of Los Angeles was, because I knew that you had lived there, But I can't imagine you in Los Angeles for some reason, Dolly.
Yeah, you were right about that. I never had been out there, that much. And when we started working, when I first started to get to be known, I had a little cult following, so to speak. That's kind of where Linda and Emmy kind of, found out about me, I guess. But when we were going out working places like the Roxy Theater, and, I would get invited, and we had no money, of course, so we'd have to stay down at the Highland, down on Highland at the cheapest hotels we could find. And it was so scary and awful. And I thought, because we didn't see any of the good parts, we would just go to those clubs, and then we'd go back to that cheap-ass hotel, and, and all those bag people and poor, pitiful people. It's like, I thought, oh, what is so special about California? It was only after, I got to where we could get out and see other parts of it, that it was great. But I have to honestly say, it was a culture shock. It was a hillbilly in the city, for sure.
Yeah, that was the way when I first came out to work with Graham. I mean, it is like no other place in the world for us. I mean, basically, growing up kind of, not the deep South anymore. My father was in the Marine Corps, so we traveled. And there had been Washington, D.C., and I had even lived in New York City. But there's nothing that can really compare with the strangeness
especially
of
the
Los
Hollywood,
Angeles.
in Hollywood. But then, of course, it's got so many beautiful places, but you have to be able to make some money before you get out to even see those places.
So spread out.
But it's a place of action. I love it now. I have a home there, have had for many, many years. I mean, I live in Tennessee. That's my main home, but I keep a home out there, and I do love it. I have to say I do love it. But I didn't love it at the start. It was a jolt to my whole system.
In the 70s as well, I can imagine it was quite a different place altogether. Well, it's a shame that Linda can't be with us today.
She's with us in spirit.
We're talking about it. We've been conjuring her up with all our talking about her and celebrating her, really. Yeah.
We're so, independently different, but creatively we feel the same.
Well, we love a lot of the same music. That was why, we never had any arguments about what song to do. I mean, it was
we loved all of the songs.
We loved all of the
songs. Which songs do we leave out? They were all great. Right. Emmy has the best ear for songs. Emmy brought the best of the songs.
Well, we all did.
We did, but
when
don't
I
be
think
proud.
About it,
you did. I think about it. I know exactly.
I did bring a bunch of songs, but Linda, who would demur about, don't worry, you guys pick the songs, and yet she came up with "Telling Me Lies." And she came up with Feels Like Home, and the McGarrigle, It's Not Enough. What was that beautiful
McGarrigle song? Oh, don't ask me, I've slipped and slipped.
Oh, God, the beautiful McGarrigle song that was just so heartbreaking and gorgeous. So, and Dolly, of course, with her own songs, and then After the Gold Rush, which is just really this magnificent, I mean, what a strange, beautiful choice. To do that Neil Young, but we had to change the words. We did. It's not that we were. It's just it didn't feel right for the three of us to be singing. I felt like getting high, and then
Even
Linda.
Though we did.
And then Linda said, I felt like eating pie. And then we decided on I felt like I could cry.
Very nice.
But I felt like eating pie.
I felt like getting high and eating pie. And
if I had gotten high, I would have wanted to eat pie.
Well, I'm pretty sure Neil Young must have had some pie, smoking some pie. Don't you, when he wrote it?
I have a feeling.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me.
Sure.
Well, thank you, and good luck to you in your career.
Thank you.
Yes, very good luck to you.
Thank you both so much for existing. It's been fantastic.